Thank you. So I'm a PhD student at Edinburgh University as part of the Edinburgh Parallel Computing Centre. Last year when I did a talk, I was an MSc student there, so progress there already. As part of the MSc, I um, I wrote some code which you needed random numbers, but a sort of a pseudo random number from a seed so I could reproduce it each time. And I used a C implementation of the universal random number generator based on a 1990 paper called Towards a Universal Random Number Generator. And I did like this library quite a lot. It worked really well. So when I ported some code to Rust, I decided to to port the library as well. There is my GitHub has got the code for it, and I've published it on crates.io under the name Unirand. So the algorithm basically creates a table of 97 floating point values from a seed provided by the programmer. And each time you call the uni function, it generates the next number in the cycle. It's a very nice system. So originally it was written in Fortran. I first came across it as a C implementation and then ported to Rust. But it does give you around 900 million distinct number combinations, which is useful for a lot of simulation work if you're wanting to do that kind of thing. And you want to have a predictable from it. Every time you give the same seed, you'll always get the same series, which is very useful for running simulations. So version 1 was basically a rewrite of the C library, and it is basically Rust with a C accent. As you can see, it's structured like C, it ran like C. The next version, of course, I forgot about Clippy in the first version, and Clippy did bring up some useful things to fix. Things like having default implementations, which again is standard idiomatic Rust. So that was all good things there. And then moving on, the next version, I started using some of the more Rust language features for documentation and tests. So you can add your tests into the code with mod test section. So every time you run cargo test, it will run the test. And this is fantastic because if you're writing a crate rather than an application, it gives you a way of testing it without having to write a test application separately. But then the documentation also feeds into the testing, and this is a fantastic feature. So you can add documentation in using Markdown with triple slashes. And if you add code samples in, it will add those to the tests that are run when you run cargo tests, which means your documentation will always work and be compatible with the version that you're using. Otherwise, it'll get flagged as a failed test. The next thing that happened, this was actually just a failure on my part rather than a Rust bug. As I mentioned before, the original was written in Fortran. And if you know Fortran, arrays are indexed from 1 and not 0. So this meant every 98 cycles through the system, it just returns 0 as a value rather than the next random number in the sequence. So I fixed it with this small fix, but also added in another test to run it to generate 200 consecutive values. So this could act as a regression test to check this if it came back again. Then the next version fixed a few API issues. RInit was public, and rstart was public, but it's only called from RInit, so that was removed from being public. And I corrected a few other bits and pieces. Range checks had become redundant, so added those in as a debug assert rather than a panic. And then you've got these two functions, therinit and the uni functions. Rinit has to be called before uni, and I hadn't put checks in to make sure that was the case. So I added in an initialization Boolean field and a guard on uni to make sure it couldn't run until rinit had been run. So up to this point, this is all pretty good. It's running well, and I could have probably left it there, but Rust has some very powerful features, and adding these features in took a lot less code than I thought it would. And that is the power of traits. So I implemented two standard traits to work with my crate, which were the iterator and randcore, which is one of the standard Rust random number systems. And to add it into the iterator was just 6 lines of code, which is nothing, which allowed you to add in the things like just collecting 5 values, summing 1,000 values and stuff like that. So rather than the users having to create for loops to do these kind of things, it's all fixed and works perfectly just from 6 lines of code. Adding into randcore was slightly more with 9 lines of code. But again, this is not hard to just give the programmers such ease of use of my crate now within the Rust ecosystem. So adding it into randcore now allow distributions, shuffling, sampling, all without me having to add any further code or the other or a programmer using my crate having to add in further code. So in conclusion, Clippy, tests, documentations, and standard traits all played their part. This is quite a small crate. It's under 250 lines of code. But as you can see, this was a nice journey from using Rust as a safer C to using Rust as Rust. So from projects from now on, from what I learned with this, I can implement these things earlier. For the life of this particular crate, I'll be the next version will be using the type system for the initialization state. So we're moving this issue of calling uni before rinit to being before calling those. So moving it to a compile time issue rather than a runtime issue. And as we know from using the Rust compiler, this is a great way of implementing it because this means if it compiles, it's correct. And that's another feature that we really like about Rust. One other thing I'm always a bit unsure about is Rust version numbers. So many things start with 0. And I'm not sure if I'll ever get to version 1 or whether I should, or it seems to be everyone's relaxed into that way of versioning. So anyway, that was my journey of rewriting this random number library. So I hope that's been of interest. And does anyone have any questions?